Welcome to Different Roots Radio, where entrepreneurs share their journeys and wisdom. This week, we are joined by the co-founder and CEO of Nodes and Links, a project's Swiss Army knife. We discuss what it means to work with a rigid schedule, the functions of a CEO during different periods, and things data science, data privacy, data storage, data. Give us some data or data love or data inputs in our comments on any of our socials. As always, be sure to like, subscribe, and share wherever possible. Now, let's get on with the show.
Thank you for tuning in to another episode of Different Roots Radio. Today, we are joined by Greg Lawton, co-founder and CEO of Nodes and Links. Nodes and Links is based in Cambridge, and they produce a beautiful platform, project management platform called Aegis. Greg is joining us today from Switzerland. We're very happy to have you. And if you're wondering what Aegis is, it is the project's Swiss Army knife. So looking very excited to learn all about it. Thanks for joining us today, Greg.
It's my pleasure.
Fantastic. So first of all, without getting too technical, tell us what is Aegis and what makes it different to all the other millions of project management softwares out there.
So different from like Jira, Trello,
all the
Microsoft. Okay. Sometimes I use Excel, but that's a rookie like me. But go on.
So there's two differences. The first is that it's not aimed at what I'd call small scale project management. It's aimed at how you waterfall project management of massive construction and engineering projects. So if you want to build a spaceport, or you want to build a high-speed railway, or you want to build a brand new airport, you use this kind of project management, not that. And then the second element is that even though it's code, because everything on the cloud is code, it's actually not a tool, it's not a software, it's an assistant. It's there to actually start to help people do the role that they were put into, rather than to just be another hammer or another chisel with which people can do that role. So think of it as your own personal assistant that knows exactly how you do your job and can help you do your job. The only difference is this isn't a general job. You are a world-class surgeon, or in this case, you are a world-class deliverer of billion-pound projects.
So I guess project managers, those people that are well-versed with like Prince2 management skills, or
exactly.
Exactly. So I'm able to say Prince2 because I have theoretical knowledge. I did the test and I've got certificate around me. But like, I guess when it comes to like risk and mitigation, think about scenario planning and things like that. That's all stuff that Aegis is able to help with. Is that correct?
Yeah, absolutely. So within project management, there's a number of roles that people will spend their entire career excelling at. So there's what I'll call execution project management, which is when you break these big projects into smaller ones. It's the person in charge of their own little kingdom. But you have specialities. So you have financial managers, you have planners, schedulers, you have procurement managers, you have risk managers, and all of these kinds of things. Aegis is aimed at project planners. It's the people who sequence everything and schedule everything. And these people fundamentally have to do 5 things. They have to plan everything. They have to maintain the integrity of the plan through this evolving, very complex project. They have to do progress tracking and forecasting. They have to do risk and opportunity management. And they have to do reporting and communication, because there'll be thousands of people who need to understand what they need to do. And what Aegis does is 3 simple things. One is it automates a huge amount of all of those activities, so that it takes people, the case study we did last week was 92% automation. So it takes an 8-hour day down to less than an hour for these people. The second is it creates consistency. So when you have these big projects and these project enterprises, so massive 10, 20 billion pound companies that deliver them, it creates consistency across all the plans so that, you know, people can talk the same language. And then the third thing it does is those planners now have more time to think. It has advanced analytics in that point them in the direction of where the money is hidden and how they can unlock it. So if you think about the typical day of one of these people, they'll spend most of their time trying to write reports. And these people are very educated people. Reports are great, but they're not uncovering risk, and they're not finding acceleration opportunities, and they're not finding the millions and millions that are hidden just because of a clever thought of how to sequence things. Instead, now they're spending, you know, 92% of their time actually doing that stuff and adding more value. And what that ultimately means is that these projects get delivered faster. And if you're thinking about this as a hospital, or you're thinking about it as a wind farm, or you're thinking about it as a new train line, it means that the society which that project is built for gets all those benefits sooner.
It's funny you should say hospital, because when you were explaining that, it reminded me of when I did a consulting for a new healthcare center, and they wanted to put in lots of technology and the latest AI and all these things. And their aim was not just to improve patient care, but to make everything more streamlined, more automated, and essentially to save the time of the nurses and whoever's on duty. And
efficiencies left and right?
Efficiencies everywhere. And they really wanted to run the whole health medical center with just one doctor, and they had about 30 to 40 patients, and one doctor and loads of technology. Obviously they couldn't do that, but that was their goal. Do you similarly, do you use a lot of AI? Are your machines learning? Is your project management software learning, or is it just really well designed at the beginning?
So the answer is yes, but I will correct a definition there. So there are various branches of artificial intelligence, and most artificial intelligence learns, but there's different kinds of learning, but not all artificial intelligence learns. Yeah. And there's a gray line at the boundary. It's almost like, when does y equals mx plus c turn into artificial intelligence? Well, there's no clear boundary, but it's a gray. We do use algorithms that learn. We also design complex algorithms that enable people to learn and then to change the complex algorithms themselves. So there's this, it's however the feedback loops work, but the simple answer is yes, they learn. That's on the intelligence side. The thing that matters is actually getting the job done. So the thing that actually matters in that hospital is delivering patient care effectively and efficiently. What I'm not a fan of is forcing a technology into a solution. Yeah. So the answer might not be AI. The answer might be very well designed software. The answer might also be, you know, give out free salads.
Sure.
I don't know, but so what I'm trying to say is there's a range.
Yeah. Greg, this actually brings me to something that I recently read, which is like augmented intelligence. That's essentially what it helps to is to look towards increasing cognitive processes such as learning and how to do tasks kind of thing. So is that essentially what your software is essentially trying to also do? It's not just giving a solution or looking at time management and things like that, but it's also looking at intricate processes that could help someone make decisions faster, kind of thing.
That's exactly it. And actually, this comes onto the point of, you know, if we just stand back and think about what technology is good at, what computers are good at, they're good at processing a lot of data very, very quickly, and they're good at running consistent algorithms. That's what they're good at. People are good at actually living in the real world. They're good at human relationships.
Not always, and if you look around.
But we're more sociable than machines, you could say.
There we go. Yes, that's right.
That's what I'll put. We're more sociable than machines. We're also, in a large extent, more practically minded. So in terms of solutions that we can think will work in the real world, machines can't think. So when you actually look at it like this, it's not a and it comes back to one of the points, it's not that machines will dominate the world, it's that actually,
Yeah.
where are the appropriate divisions of labor? We gave up arching over in the farming fields centuries ago when we figured out that we can use a combine harvester to do it. That's a division of labor.
Yeah.
It's the same thing in the office. It's almost like, when do we give up doing huge amounts of manual Excel-based data analysis and actually start to spend our time thinking about, well, I know this project, I know what's going on, what is this thing telling me? So augmented intelligence is a perfect description. To me, that would be that the machine is recommending that I do something, but also giving me all of the reasons why it thinks that and the facts that let me make up my own choice. But the choice is fundamentally mine.
That's awesome. Nice. So honestly, this is a very complex process, and whatever we can do to help ourselves make decisions faster, become more efficient at our jobs, that would also mean hopefully a more balanced lifestyle. Work could be less stressful. So because now you have opened up more time for other things that you can be doing. But I guess this is all great and all about nodes and links, but we have actually come here not to talk about nodes and links, but to talk about you, Greg.
I was actually thinking, how did we even get so deep into this? But yeah,
it's because it's a deep topic, man. It's an AI, man. Skynet's happening. So based on what we've read about you, Greg, is that you've been with nodes and links since 2018, the founder CEO, as we said. Before that, you were with a startup incubator. Is that correct?
Yes.
Entrepreneur first,
yep.
Right? And then you were a strategist for several years at BAE Systems, right, for 6 years plus. And guess what? Alumni of AMBS, MBA grad 2017. Let's go.
You know the vibes.
Yeah. So I guess your journey has kind of taken you through different business processes and looking at theoretical business structures. But what has actually led you now to starting Nodes and Links? And tell us a little bit about your journey and what's got you sitting all the way in Switzerland now. And
I'd say that. So if we go back to the start, when I left university, I went to university because it was the thing you did. I didn't really think it through. I just went to university and I did something that I really enjoyed, which was physics. Then when university ended, I didn't really want to get a...
Sorry.
Yeah.
University of Durham.
You go to Durham?
Yeah.
Oh, me too.
Exactly.
What's up, buddy? Yeah, no, I went down for my first degree.
Yeah.
A while back. It's cold up there. It's cold, but it's fun.
It's fantastic up in Durham. I love Durham.
All right, sorry. Continue.
But I finished Durham and I didn't really want to get a job because jobs seem really difficult. Why would you do that when you could do sports, you could go and have adventures, like you could go and meet people. But obviously you have to go and get a job. And I was very lucky. I got a fantastic job at BAE. And I have to say that there's really two things that have driven me all the way through my career to now. One is that I just really like understanding how things work. So at BAE, I was like, oh, I really want to know how all the technology works. Cool. And then I was like, this is really weird. We're building all this tech, but actually there's thousands of people that are in management. What's management? I want to know how that works. So doing that. And then the second is, I like building things. I can't build things with my hands or design things. I don't have those skills. Like my brother is far more skilled than me in practically building stuff. But
you really good at Legos or something? Was that it?
Very good. He built cars and yachts and all of that kind of stuff. I like building things in my head. So I like building models and frameworks and equations and structures and things like that. So I like knowing how things work and I like building things. And it got to a point where I was just thinking, I want to build more and more and more. And it wasn't a sharp, I was at BA and then it stopped. Like I started a little business whilst I was at BAE and that went well. So I sold that and I started a little other business, and that really didn't take off the ground. So I stopped that. And then it got to the point where I was like, right, either I do this properly or just stop doing it. And I just decided to do it really properly, which is the whole venture capital, fundraising, entrepreneur first, that kind of thing.
Did you think when you were a kid and your brother was building all these things, did you see yourself running a company or doing anything like this? Or did it, like you say, just come about naturally?
The right answer is yes, I always had the
always saw myself as a CEO.
Yes.
The real answer is no, never, ever. Everything happened emergently. So it's like it happened emergently and serendipitously, in that I knew I wanted to build things. I knew I liked understanding how things worked, and I would actively go out to try and understand how things work and to try and learn things. And then I'd be given a small opportunity, and because I wanted to learn, I do it properly and professionally. And then that just leads on to a next opportunity and the next opportunity. And it kind of just builds up. And it wasn't one of these big break things. It was just lots of little pieces of hard work that built up into.
So would you say it's
big things.
like consistency? Like were you just consistently going for what you were interested in and working at it professionally, and then you got there in the end?
You told me you had that Kobe mentality where, put in the extra hours of work just to figure out how to refine your craft, and then all of a sudden.
Yeah. So I was, if I was talking about the craft, I was doing my 40 hours a week at work, and then I averaged 16 hours extra a week working on all of my own stuff, but properly. Like, I think one of the best thing that university taught me, and now recently my co-founder, who's a professor, which takes it to the next level, is how to do a piece of work properly. So it's like, right, I want to learn this thing. Do I just kind of sit there and mull over it? No. What I do is I define the bit I want to learn. I then go and learn it. I then write my notes on it. Then I go and test myself on those notes. And if I can execute those notes, then I know I've learned it.
Oh, nice.
It's like doing it properly. But if you get really good at that, you can learn a lot of stuff very quickly.
So for your time there, would you do your 8 hours, 9 hours at work, and then BAE, and then come back and then work every evening for a couple of hours? Or
no, not every evening. The way I did it was I had this is now going for a number of years, when I went for a cycle where I had a very rigid schedule, which was too rigid. Then I kind of threw it out the window and had no schedule, which I didn't achieve anything. And then I kind of just bounced between until I found a happy medium. Generally, what I did was work normal Monday to Friday. And then Monday night, I'd go to the gym and have off. Tuesday, I'd work from 6 till 9. Wednesday, I'd have off. Thursday, I'd work 6 till 9. Friday, I'd have off. Saturday, I'd have off. And then Sunday, I'd do a full day. But it was so chilled. It was like you can have a coffee, you can just do a few hours work, go and have lunch. And it's just like really nice and chilled.
But I guess that system kind of worked for you for a little while until you realized you needed to change it up, right? So,
well, it was the whole, do I do this properly? Because it was like, well, I'm spending 40 hours a week doing very valuable stuff, but it's not the stuff that I actually really, really want to be doing. So I could unlock another 40 hours if I decided to make that jump. So it was just that simple decision of, do I keep doing the thing I'm doing? Do I stop doing all the side stuff and just say, look, I'll just stick with the job? Or do I try and make my job the thing I want to do?
So here's, I guess, a lot of people that do start this like side gig, side hustle job versus their 9 to 5. Eventually, a lot of people say they make that transition when they see revenue coming in, right? That would be able to support them based off the side gig. Now, was that your case that you realized, oh, you know what, I can support myself based off of this income? Or were you just like, you jumped wagon, then you start using your savings, And unfortunately, with your seed money that you guys made 1.8 million, right? And you just did Series A now, and you've amassed another 11 million. So so yes, you know, money's good now, but how was it at the beginning though?
So I'm going to say one of the jobs of a CEO is to reduce risk. My job is to de-risk the business plan. That's my job. I do it now by hiring people and structuring the business and setting the strategy and all of those things. But even in the early days, like that mentality is, my job is not to get to a position where it's do or die. My job is to make it an inevitability that we will achieve success. So actually, in my case was a little different because it wasn't quite a side gig, but actually the flow followed the same structure. I decided to do it properly, and by properly what I meant was making it my full-time as fast as possible. And I wanted to create a very large organization, so over $1 billion in valuation. That necessitates, or the process that is best geared to doing that is venture capital. So that's where I went. Now, in terms of the kind of the risk and the flows of cash, I had this stable income at BAE Systems, and I actually really loved my job there, and I really loved the team there. But I said I'm going to go and do this thing. Now, what I didn't do was quit. What I did do was go and have a conversation with my line manager and the directors of the business unit and said, look, I want to go and do this. I would like a sabbatical. Now, a sabbatical is that I can come back in a defined period of time on my old role and everything's fine. But because I was going to do this venture capital, which essentially was like another kind of MBA, that's the way you can think about it. I was getting a skill set that no one in that business had, which is the startup skill set and the, know everything about value propositions and financing and venture and innovation and all of these kinds of things. That made me more valuable to the business. So they actually said to me, you can come back on a promotion if you come back. So if you think about this scenario, there was no failure. Either the business succeeded and we raised money and I had a good, an income, or the venture didn't work out, but I got a promotion and earned more money anyway.
Win-win.
Yeah, so it's about creating those win-wins, and everybody wins because, the BAE Systems weren't paying me a wage whilst I was on this scheme, so I did use a bit of savings to go through that, but we're not talking vast amounts. And they, I was meeting with them every month, and we're hearing everything that's going on and understanding, and hopefully that helped inform some of their strategy. And then obviously I was doing my thing.
Entrepreneurs always come on the show and they make the life sound so glamorous and so easy. What was the did you actually have any obstacles, or did you just cruise through life?
I don't think
because everyone's like, yeah, I did this, set up the company, now I'm balling. Did you making a win-win situation like that, that's ideal. Everyone could go for that. You would
but I swear, I'm pretty sure he did not go into that meeting thinking, I'm going to leave this conversation with promotion.
Yeah, I know. That's lucky. I know, but this is like, you hear about these things and it's like, this is like from a movie. But what was the hardest part of the journey? What was the biggest obstacle? Where did you doubt yourself?
That's a very, very good question. I still doubt myself every single day. Every single day I doubt myself. The hardest part of the journey is every single day, because having a job in a big company, you've got lots of processes, you've got lots of systems, you've got lots of stability around, and your job is to work within a framework to deliver that job. But being an entrepreneur and then being the CEO of a company with employees, you are the person who has to define all of that. And who's to say I'm right? Who's to say the hypothesis I have about certain bits of the market or certain products or certain pricing or certain behaviors is right.
It's I think this is why a lot of people typically try to go into business where they have previous experience, years of experience. And that's why I like a lot of senior CEOs or board members, it's the experience that they bring to the table. And that's what brings a lot of value in the perspective of the employees or the workforce. So I guess, yes, they might be wrong about certain decisions, but however, they're relying on a lot of their insights based on experience, based on the exposure to what they've seen happen in the past. Yeah, it could go tits up, or it can go, to the heavens, and you guys can just explode and expand, leftways and sideways. So
exactly. I have to say, like the emotions haven't actually changed. Like the emotions of standing on stage in front of 500 of the world's biggest investors and like not sleeping for 3 days before that because I was so nervous. And then even like today, where I'm like, I'm trying to de-risk the business as much as possible and think about I'm trying to think about the things that no one else will think about. That's again that's the job of a founder. But you still like that. I personally find it very, very difficult, but it is really, really rewarding when you figure it out.
How big is your workforce now, or how many people now look to you for decisions? Like,
the workforce now is, as of today, 19, but it will be 32 by Christmas.
Yeah. So a lot of data scientists, I'm sure, and there's some business development and, some very smart people. And I saw you're currently still looking to hire some more people.
We're hiring very.
I don't want any and nothing to do with data science. No, I'm all right. Look at Dammy. He likes numbers.
I just like my stats. That's it.
He loves his stats. When have you found that because it's such a technical, I guess, company, are there ever times when you have a problem or you need someone to fix something and you don't understand it? And if so, like how do you manage that situation? How do you know they're doing the job correctly?
Actually, T, you know what? I let me even take a stab at that question if you don't mind.
Yeah.
It's like, I think when you're faced with a problem that you don't know right away and in front of others, it's all right to say, I might not know, or say, let me get back to you on that, right? So that way you'll be able to reframe back to yourself, articulate yourself in a way that you can learn the answer online, or talking to advisors or talking to someone else, and then come back with the answer. Answers are not required right then and there always, right? But
if you have a problem and say you're in a meeting and you're all trying to figure out the problem, and then someone comes up with an idea and they go, oh, what about this? And you genuinely don't understand it. You can't say, excuse me, hold the meeting. I'm just going to leave. It's like Googling stuff.
At that point, you guys are now doing like brainstorming, right? That's what it is. It's a brainstorming session. And you come out of, oh, wow, I'm can't believe I'm saying all this. It's a brainstorming session. So like the solution or strategy that's placed out is not placed out in stone, right? You guys all come to somewhat consensus about what you guys want to do. But if you take that consensus or take that strategy back home and you think on it, I'm sure people are always open to dialogue again if there's another alternative.
I'll give you an example. I worked in a smaller company in the past, and we had a finance person, and they weren't the best at finance, but they were pretending that they knew a lot more than they did. So the directors...
Fake it till you make it? Is that what they're doing?
They embellished the CV heavily, like put all these different like accreditations on they didn't have. And so anyway, they're in the meeting, the director's like, oh, can you just do the finances, do the numbers? And they just brought out a table that was so confusing that no one said anything, because we were like, oh, well, it looks very complex. It must be right. And then after about 2 months, we realized they didn't have a clue what they were talking about, but they just bamboozled us with like, but when we actually said, okay, can you really bring out the numbers and show us our profit and loss for this? They couldn't do it. And then we realized, oh, it's not that it's complicated. They've just made it so hard that we can't understand it, but they don't really know what they're doing. So what I'm saying is, if you have some technical issue and you're getting someone to fix it, how do you know that they've done it right? Or how do you know that's the best way to do it? How do you know you're not being overcharged? Do you, like, as the CEO or the founder, do you have to know all the technical sides of your business, or do you trust your staff to, do you trust them to delegate?
There's so many answers to this. I think there's three different answers actually. One is the scenario where I'm personally in a meeting and I don't know something. A second is a scenario where is the business has got a challenge and I don't know how to deal with that. And then the third is when two other people are interacting like this, and that's separate. So I'll do that one. So the one where I'm in a meeting, and this comes down to two things. One is management style. So, you know, certain people want a hierarchical management structure, certain people want a flat management structure, or the kind of thing. I'm very much a flat kind of management structure. And the second thing is a separation between person and role. So I am in the role of the CEO, but I am a person with a certain set of skills. If I fail at the role of the CEO, it doesn't mean I fail as a person. It means that there was a mismatch between my abilities and the role description as it is defined. So in that case, there was a mismatch between the person and the finance role and the skill sets as that was defined, and they weren't caught at an interview stage or throughout the thing. So in that kind of meeting, I'd say, I don't understand what you're telling me. Can you try and make it simpler and try to just walk me through the logic? And then I just probe a little deeper and ask that. What I found is that when you get really good, the best people I've ever come across make things simple. They don't need to be complex. Like, I can be talking with a C-suite of $1 billion company, and they'd be like, oh, our company does three things, that, and that. And we make that much money from that, about that much money from that, and this is our kicker. And I now understand the top level business model of that business, and the financial model will just be structured like that, and then it'll get more and more complex. You don't need complexity into the bottom level, so that's that. So then you've got the one where something needs to be figured out in the business. And this is now about business building, it's process building. So what you make sure is just that your checks and your balances are separate from the main body of work, just like politics is supposed to be. So just imagine university, imagine you marking your own essay. Like, you just don't have that. Now, I might not be the best marker.
Graduated first day of school is the last day of school, automatic grad.
Boom. Yeah. I tell you what, I'm the best student that's ever come through my own school. Like,
the school is now going to call University of Damning.
There you go.
How great he is.
But it's the same in that. You think about it, it's just like there's someone who's good at doing work, and then there's someone who will understand that work. And then how sure you want to be of the answer just depends on how many checks you put in place. So for example, in banking, I know that in payments and processing, they typically have 4 escalation checks. So if you're sending big sums of money for like a house deposit, they will have 4 different people in different places in the world checking that that's the right thing to do before it's sent. Because that means that a very small percentage will get through 4 checks without anyone noticing it. So that's that. And then what was the final one? 2 people interacting.
Yeah, 2 people interacting. And it's like they're super technical, and you have no idea what they're talking about.
Okay. If they're super technical and I have no idea what they're talking about, then there's 2 things I can do. One is get out of their way, because if I'm not adding any value, then I should get out of their way so they can keep going. Or the second is be an appropriate chairman. And the chairman is there to ensure that the meeting objectives are understood, ensure that the meeting flows to time, ensure that the meeting dynamics are appropriate, and ensure that actions are collected and sent out at the end. That can easily be done if you're sat back, because you could just be like, okay, do you understand what they just said? It's like, yeah, I understand that. Okay, cool. Right. Yeah. I don't need to understand it as long as you do. And I'm like, okay, everyone, I think I'm hearing two actions from this. The this and this. Is that right? And everyone will go, no, you've totally misunderstood. The actual action is that we need to get all of this data and run it through this and color it pink. Okay, what will that achieve? How does that achieve the outcome? Because it'll tell us this and then we can do this. All right, cool. That's the action then. Fine, let's go.
So a bit of a moderator and a summarizer at the end. So I like it. Yeah, that's good. So you've kind of alluded to, bringing in specialists. We have specialists into the field that help you do your job, and they might be way too technical for some conversations, but I guess in terms of, nodes and links, it relies heavily on data scientists. So I'm assuming you have a team of data scientists that work with you, right? So I guess what we're also seeing now that data is king, right? Data is everything. And the Internet of Things, that's been increasing, that's an increasing trend, right? Yeah. So I guess what I want to get to is try to figure out, do you see yourself having more and more data analysts help you with cloud hosting or cloud computing, or are you guys going to, look towards hiring more people that would be in the front end of the programs rather than back end?
What do you define as front end versus back end of the programs?
Front end would be people that would use the software and be able to say, this is the interface, this is how you use it, this is...
it's more like salespeople and marketing people.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, the ratio at the moment is very, very heavily data science. So, and data science and development. So we're talking 80-90% ratio of data science and development. Over time, that will flatten out, and eventually you will have sales and marketing rapidly overtake data science and development. And that is because data science and development is more scalable as a function more scalable in its impact than something like sales and marketing for the market that we work in. So to put it very simply, each business that we sell to is a large account. You'll have an account manager. So you'll have, if you have 10 accounts, put very simply, you'd have 10 account managers. If you have 100 accounts, you'd have 100 account managers. But you're selling the same product to them all. So you only need 10 data scientists, let's say, to build the product for 10, or 10 to build it for 100. So that's how the ratio will move over time. But I do want to address something you said about the business being highly technical. And actually, I think that nowadays, almost every single job that people do is technical. You guys are doing a technical job here. I don't know how to run a podcast. You could probably explain it to me and take me on some lessons and teach me how to do it. But I have no idea how to do it right now. The same as I got my hair cut for the first time yesterday since the start of COVID. Wow. And it was by a hairdresser, I'll say.
Okay, good.
I was just in the picture yesterday. Yeah. It's the whole screen.
Yeah. And my God, they were quick, they were accurate. It was a pleasurable experience to have a proper haircut again. And I was like, I can't cut hair, and you could explain it to me. I wouldn't be able to do it. But I actually think that
my hair. Don't worry.
No, I just get the razor and put it through the middle.
Oh God, no.
Have you ever heard of a concept called a wartime CEO and a peacetime CEO? Yeah, I read an article yesterday, and it was about how different companies, they have different CEOs for different times. And Steve Jobs is a wartime CEO. He's very, and wartime CEOs, they like to tell you how they might swear a bit, but they're aggressive, and they want you to stick to the plan, and there's not much room for innovation and ideas. Whereas a peacetime CEO, a bit when Apple were just everyone, you guys just come up with ideas and any innovation, all their staff just provide us some ideas, and that's
think tank Innovation Fridays.
Yeah, exactly. And they're trying to grow the internet and come up with ideas, whereas Amazon, for example, be like, we need to get cheaper prices, we need to do this. You guys will have like IKEA desks, and like that's it. There's no Google. They'll say, oh, you can come and play snooker and have beanbags. And they basically said that Steve Jobs took over when they needed to get back on track, and they needed to. It was time for war on competitors and things. And some CEOs are good at both, but often you have to change after a certain while. Do you feel that your style's changed as you've grown? Are you still the same CEO you are now as when you first founded, or as you've grown, have you had to get more aggressive, or like say this is our culture, or how's it changed?
Massively different. So,
and you've only been around for a couple of years.
Couple of years, but you still go through a lot of you go through a stage of coming up with the business's concept. Then you go through a stage of pitching and fundraising. Then you go through a stage of initial growth and trying to find product market fit. Then you go through a stage of achieving product market fit and going into commercial and generating revenue. Then you go into another fundraise, and then now we're into a portion of scale where I'm now trying to remove myself from I think we calculated it today. It was like 6 different roles I was doing, and my founder the same, and putting and hiring people in those and delegating. My simple view on that, and I generally only have very simple views.
That's good.
My simple view is that it's the outcome that matters. And the outcome requires me to either know certain things or behave in certain ways.
Yeah.
If I cannot, and my personal behavior comes from obviously my ingrained personality, but then habits that are built on practice. If I do not have the energy, the wherewithal, or the reflective abilities to understand that I need to change the way I'm behaving in order to achieve another objective, that's on me. But hopefully I do it more often and get it more right than I get it wrong. And I definitely have got it wrong. I've got it wrong quite a lot. The whole kind of wartime, peacetime CEO thing, I think it oversimplifies what it's about. That to me is really all about how you want people to work together, and how clear the objective is that you're trying to achieve. If you were talking to me about a peacetime CEO, and I would describe that as you're wanting more decentralization, so you're wanting more decision-making at the coalface, then what you're essentially doing is letting the reins off the organism and seeing what happens. And hopefully good things happen because you've put good things in place. The wartime CEO is more centralization, which is getting rid of the emergence you don't want and going everyone in this direction, because this is a laser target that we have to hit.
Exactly, yeah. So you've worn different hats over your time, pretty much.
Yeah, I find it very, 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 very like emotionally taxing to change.
Yeah.
Very emotionally taxing. But once you've changed, it's kind of comfortable for a couple of weeks, and then you have to change it again, and you're like, oh, I'm tired.
It takes a lot of, like what you said, it sounds like you need a lot of introspective looking. You need to examine your personality and be really honest with yourself, which everyone hates doing. And you're like, oh no, it wasn't my fault that the meeting went wrong, or that argument wasn't my fault, but really have to look and say, okay, I could have done this better. Next time in that situation, I'll lead the team by doing this. So yeah, you've got to criticize yourself a lot, which is hard.
Well, the way I look at this is that it's absolutely fine to feel however you feel. That's perfect. Like, nobody in the world can tell you off for feeling how you feel. And it's absolutely fine to have whatever outcome. That's absolutely fine. What is not okay is to be blasé about it or to put it on other people. Like, that's not okay. That's you might have to bleep this, but that's a dick move.
No, we can let that ride.
Yeah, that's a total dick move. Like, whatever happens, but if you can't own it and you can't reflect on it yourself, then what are you even doing? Like, the thing that we're trying to achieve are feedback loops. if you want to build a business, it's fundamentally about building a machine. You're a machine builder. And what you're trying to get is one part of the machine to feed another, and then that part of the machine to feed it back. So you build great products that attract customers. Customers give you money to build more great products.
Yeah.
Like stuff like that. If you can't have the simplest of machines yourself, well, what are you doing?
Definitely. While we're on the topic of all these machines, do you have any issues, or have you had any issues with like data protection or having loads of?
Is this gonna bring in the Cambridge Analytica scandal all over again?
Yeah, any scandals? Anyone trying to hack information, steal data? Do you have to worry about that a lot? Do you have a lot of firewalls and things in place?
Well, let me drop a stat before you guys continue.
Yeah, I'm surprised he's gone so long without a stat.
Well, I have a few stats.
Okay
yeah, it's a little warm in here, you know. So data storage, 45 zettabytes are currently being used right now for data storage, and it's projected to go to 175 zettabytes in 2025. So data storage is huge.
Can you give me a technical description of what zettabytes are?
That's a lot of zeros.
I don't actually know how many zeros.
That's a lot of zeros.
There's a lot of zeros. But in regards to, let's say, data privacy, another stat is that since the whole Cambridge Analytica, more than 50% of consumers are now concerned about data privacy when it comes to, you know, their information. So I know that Facebook and Google, those were the guys that were freely handing out consumer data.
You get data.
Yeah, exactly.
Everyone gets data.
Yeah, but I guess now people are more aware because of the documentary, the scandal, and things like that. And I'm not even sure, like, for project management, what kind of data privacy laws do you guys have to adhere to? Because I imagine there's not so much personal data you guys have to face. It's more so corporate and stuff like that.
Yeah, absolutely. So we're a B2B business. We don't deal with personnel systems like HR, etc. We're about business systems. So the only real data that we have are things like usernames and login passwords and things like that. And I think under GDPR, we are a data, I can't remember the two terms. It was like a data owner and a data processor. I think we're a data processor, something like that. But the number one is data security really, really matters, because we are an intelligence company. That's what we are. So if you can't control the flows of data, you don't have intelligence, so you don't have a company. It's as simple as that, really. In terms of the commercial data, we're getting a lot of commercially sensitive data. So that's actually less about the protections around that data, and it's actually more about not moving the data to anywhere dangerous. So for example, like limiting what data's in transit, limiting where process is done, those kinds of things. If you're getting a service for free, you are the product.
That's true. I heard that. I've heard
Hold
that.
on, let me analyze that. Yeah. I'm still struggling from the England game. If you get a service for free, you are the product.
Because they're selling you, then you're trying to get you to hook onto.
So let's talk about any kind of matchmaking platform. So just name any kind of.
I don't know any really.
Bumble, Tinder,
Hinge, Tinder,
due date.
Okay.
Grindr.
Think about. I can't remember Bumble or Tinder. I can't remember which one of these, but I would assume. This is just assumptions I'm making.
Yes, all assumptions.
My friend told me.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm just assuming that there's more males on the platform than females. If you're going to a heterosexual platform.
Yeah.
So I would assume that there's more males than females. I would. Based on that, I would assume that the business model of that is that you give females access pretty much for free, and then you would charge for people who wanted hyper usage of the platform, which would more likely be males, which means that the people who aren't paying are the product, which is either the males who aren't paying or it is the females, and they're the product.
Oh.
Hello.
All right,
Okay.
all right. So now we need to figure out how to hack the system
Yeah,
so that
it's the same. It's the same in their nightclubs. They're like, yeah, £20 entry, and then the girls come. They're like, yeah, girls go straight in. They're like, no, you guys can't come in. We're fully booked. Girls come in. It's like,
also
what?
the girls that get in are the product. Is that what you're
Yeah, the
saying?
girls are getting for free of the product, and then the guys have to
Oh,
pay.
there was a
£20.
beautiful article last weekend in, I think it was the Financial Times, about the business models of high-end nightclubs, and actually it was like I had to read it about 3 times to understand it, but I think I got it at the end. And essentially, like the very simple one is the people coming in spending the big bucks, they're the customer. The nightclub is the provider of the product, which is an experience.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Everybody else in that nightclub is part of the product the nightclub is giving to the big spender.
The experience, to add into experience.
Part of the experience. So if you're getting girls or guys to come into the club and they're getting free drinks and they're getting like all of this kind of stuff, it's part of the atmosphere, it's part of the entertainment, it's part of the experience. Like,
got it.
It's true.
Yeah.
Because back in, obviously growing up in London, when we go out in Chelsea, they say, okay, no trainers, guys, no hats, no trainers. But then as soon as me or my friends, someone has a table, it's someone's birthday, it's like, yeah, we got a table, 10 of us on the table, minimum spend is like £1,000, or like minimum spend is like £2,000. They're like, we're coming, my friend came in a dressing gown and flip-flops. He lived in Chelsea, just walked from home to the club.
Yeah.
He's like, I've got a table. They let him in his dressing gown because they knew he was about to buy champagne.
Because that's the customer.
Yeah, that's the
right?
customer.
That's
but then if you just come, me and him turn up and we're just in trainers and hats, and about nobody dress code. But if you got
that's
table,
why I dressed up.
He's ready. He's ready for the club right now.
Well, think about it this way as well. He's the customer. If they're limiting, and this is just, there's many angles that this could go, but if they're limiting it on dress code, what they're trying to do is to create an atmosphere in there where people are dressed to a certain level. And if your friend's walking in a dressing gown, he is special. And everybody in that club knows he is special for some reason. How could he get in a dressing gown? It's because he's a proper VIP.
Yeah.
Which then creates the environment for him, which is the thing that he has purchased.
That's true.
And he's going to stay longer and buy more,
Yeah, that Hugh Hefner life. We all dream about it.
Yeah.
But yeah, thanks a lot, Greg. Really appreciate it for your insights as to what it is to be a CEO with nodes and links. And now we just want to give you 1 minute to essentially talk to a younger version of yourself. What words of wisdom, what would they be?
Nothing will ever be perfect. If you're waiting to make a decision based on perfection, you'll wait forever. Pick the thing that feels good and put all your energy into that until it doesn't feel good. Then put all your energy into it for a little bit more. And then if it still doesn't feel good, make a change. I would also say that whilst it is easy to be lackadaisical and relaxed about things, have an element of professionalism and tenacity with everything you do, because if you impose that on yourself, the thousands of little jobs you do build up over time. And then the third thing that I'd probably tell myself is the most important thing you'll ever learn is how to learn fast and effectively. And that's it.
Nice. Thanks a lot, Greg. Yeah, keep trying and keep pushing. And T, what did you learn from that?
I like keep doing it till it feels right, and then do a bit more.
Do a bit more. And when you're tired, keep pushing.
Keep, yeah. When you want to quit, don't do a bit more, and then quit if it doesn't work.
Yeah. Yeah. So I guess thanks a lot, Greg. Really appreciate it. You coming in. How could some of our listeners on LinkedIn viewers or YouTube viewers or people listening on audio platforms, how are they able to connect to you or your business?
They can connect to me on LinkedIn, or they can connect to our business via the website, which is noselinks.com. But I think you said most of your audience are people who want to be entrepreneurs and things like that. The one parting bit of wisdom I would tell them is that something's happened in the past 5 years in London and a lot of the major cities around the world, which is you have accelerators and incubators growing up that will pay you to try and start a business. So if people really want to start a business, that's an option that they can go down, but most people don't know that they can go down that option.
So entrepreneurs first, is that one that you would recommend?
That is my personal humble view. That is the best one.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, nice. All right, thanks a lot, guys, for tuning into an episode of Different Roots Radio. Be sure to listen up for more interesting entrepreneurs that will come along. And we look forward to catching up with Greg down the road and see how he spends his series money. All right, have a good one, guys. We appreciate it.
Peace.
Don't forget to hit the like button to subscribe to Different Roots Radio on YouTube, Twitter, and all audio listening channels. Our talks air every other Monday. One love.